Hello, everyone, and welcome to MYT Track Feedback. I am your host, Paul Nolan. I'm the co-owner and founder of MYT, and we're here across our YouTube channel. We are basically across, as I say, Magnetic Magazine, our own channels, and our good friends at ADSR. And it's going to be an absolute privilege to listen to some tracks. We've got 10 tracks for you today, and we are going to be doing these once a month this year with a special guest artist from the world of electronic music. So if you don't know who I am Paul James Nolan. I do a lot of artist development work. I'm a DJ and producer myself, having released on the likes of Bedrock, worked with the likes of Sasha, Junkie XL, etc., etc., and also do a lot of artist development work. I've mentored artists, including the likes of Masano on Afterlife and Four Candles on Bedrock and a whole host of others. And I'm here to give you my benefit of my expertise of 25 years in electronic music and many years as a professional audio engineer, sound designer, film composer. The list goes on and on. I won't bore you with any of that. So, without much further ado, I am going to introduce you guys to our special guest. And this is going to be a really, really fun one because this is a beautiful situation that happened when we had our track feedback session back in September as part of our fifth birthday celebrations with none other than Mr. Patrice Balmel, who is a very close and personal friend of mine. And we had a lovely set of comments come in from actually the person who's going to be our guest. And I'm just going to move the screen over to show you who.
I'm great, buddy. Hello, everyone. You okay?
Wonderful, my friend. Wonderful, my friend. It is an absolute
Such a
pleasure to
pleasure
hear.
to be here with you guys. It just when I was telling you before actually because I was on the YouTube and I see your interview together with Patrice and I say, wow, this is incredible. Just let me write it up. And it was really funny from one side, but really interesting from the other side. I didn't know about this, the track feedback, and I found really interesting, and I learned I learned a lot of things actually. So it's a huge privilege and a huge honor being here with you today. So
No,
thank you for having me.
no,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much, Guy. It's an absolute honor because you are like
Wow.
one of the most talented and
Oh, wow.
unique artists that we hear in like progressive music. Like it's absolutely true. And the shall we say the statistics bear it out because according to Beat Stats, you are the third highest ranked artist for progressive house. So
Really?
yeah,
Oh, I didn't know it.
you're up there,
Great to know.
dude. You're up there. You're elite. You're Champions League level, my friend.
What can be higher anyway?
Well,
Higher or lower? I don't care. I will work properly anywt. That's
no,
that's the promise that
absolutely.
I don't care about numbers. Of course, they are really important for the marketing and for the gigs. But at the same time, I promise you that I'll do always I've done and I'll do the best to
Oh,
bring my
absolutely.
music. This is
No,
what I'm gonna.
we really,
That's a
really
promise.
appreciate it. We really appreciate it, and we're looking forward to hearing your opinions on some of the music as well. So really,
I
really up
appreciate
for
it.
this, and we're going to get going because we've got a few tracks to go through. We've got 10 to go
Sure.
through.
Wow, lovely.
So yeah,
Cool.
we've got a nice chunk of time, and what we do in these sessions is we use it as a combination of obviously helping people as much as possible, which is
Of
the point
course.
of the exercise, but also as well, what we do is we have a kind of a split. So again, for people who don't understand what we do on MYT, we're an artist development community, and we're really, really interested in making the best artists we can be, and it's why we've had so much success with the likes of Masano and Afterlife and the others who I mentioned before. So what we do is that we take 5 tracks from our community to have Guy give his opinion on, and then we take 5 from basically anyone else who has submitted tracks to that lovely web page that we put out on Instagram and via our email list in the last couple of weeks. So we had some really, really interesting submissions, and I've picked the 10 best that I think gives us enough to talk about. Because I think if we were to pick 10 completely perfect high level tracks, it'd be lovely for us to sit and listen to, Guy, but it doesn't really give us like, things to get our teeth into and subjects and concepts around like, how to solve pain points and, how to develop as an artist as well. So, I've deliberately picked these 10 tracks to give us something to get our teeth into collectively. So yeah, it's going to be fun. So we're going to start off actually with one from our community, an amazing artist called Acetone. And this is a track called Lyra's Song. So without much further ado, I'm going to play this and we should be able to hear it all over our streams. Here we go.
identity. The powerful play goes on that you make it to be yours. The powerful play goes on. Poetry, beauty, romance.
I almost feel guilty turning that off. What do you
Wow.
think? What do you think?
I love it. I really love it. That's something I would love to play, actually. Yeah,
Right.
for
Well,
sure.
we're straight out of the blocks with people getting signed and people getting DJ support.
You know what? I love it totally from the very start to the end. I mean, he has that kind of structure, the kind of arrangement. Above all, at the end of the track, you don't expect, you know what I mean? Because after the
Mm,
second break, you probably waited for something else. And actually, after the second break, there is a kind of outro which
yeah.
I really like. I like it, so I'd love to keep it. That's the kind of track uh, that goes to another direction, and I love that kind of direction, because it's totally different from the other things.
Mm,
And the only thing that I could change, okay, just let me say the statement, because I just want to be really straightforward when I say that I won't judge any track. You know what I mean? I
mhm,
see the tracks because I'm nobody to judge any any tracks from any band. What I really love about music that you can judge music. You you can feel it less or whatever. But music is music, and it belongs to to our hearts. So I can say it's good or not good. The other thing that I would like to change if it would be my track, probably, is the after the first break right after the first break, after the drop, I would
mhm.
totally remove everything,
Yeah.
and I
Really
just leave
reset it, like
yeah,
strip it really
exactly.
back. Yeah.
I will leave only the key and again the build up, which sounds fantastic. That's what I do. And the other thing that I could change if I from the mixing point of view is the kind of resonant, you know, harsh, uh,
Yeah. I
har
mean, you
it's
can see
probably
it
too
right there.
harsh. I mean, yeah, exactly. You pointed out actually because I've seen it. They kind of resonant around 8,000, 10,000 K. I can see probably, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
Other
Yeah.
than that, I think that the track is perfect. It's ready to be signed. You ready to sign it?
Well, no, but by the way that you're talking, I think I might need to make some space on my release schedule. That's already done for the year.
But
No,
yeah,
it's
that's an
fantastic. Yeah.
amazing track.
Yeah. It's
It sounds
amazing.
really, sounds. It takes me back to the first time that I flew to England was around 1992, 93, and I was really fascinated by the kind of music they played because it was totally far from the things that I used to listen here in Italy. I mean, we had, some LFO, some KLF or some prodigy or whatever, but there are some kind of deeper underground movement that I totally didn't know it. And I was really speechless when I started listening to it. Wow, what is this? It reminds me, it takes me back to that kind
Yeah.
of years.
Yeah. It's got
But
a kind of a very old school, like, it's funny that his name is Acetone because it
yeah,
very much has
exactly.
that acid house
Yeah,
kind of
I really
vibe
love
to
that
it.
kind of 303. I really love the snares, the 909 snares, absolutely on point. I
Oh,
love them.
yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
It's a
The way they
very,
work, they're
yeah.
absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's a very fresh, very modern take on a very classic sound. And the fact that he's managed to take those classic sounds like a 303 and a 909 and still make them
Yeah.
sound like, fresh because you hear them a lot in a lot of tracks and some of the time like they can sound quite dated. but this
Yeah.
doesn't for some reason. That like it still feels like we're listening to the like. I mean, this is what I feel when I hear stuff like this. I still feel
Yeah.
like I'm listening to the future when I hear
Yeah,
stuff like this.
absolutely.
Do you know what I
You
mean?
know what? Sorry for interrupting you. When I start listening to the 303, it didn't it was not like a normal 303, just like you said. It was totally something kind of different. I recognized it later that it was a 303.
Mm,
So well done. It's properly treated. It sounds fantastic. It sounds so articulated. It sounds fresh, and it goes somewhere. And I like it. The way it opens up and it closes it down and again and again. I love it. I really love the way it evolves through the
yeah.
track. So
Oh,
great
100%.
track.
100%.
Okay.
And from me, I mean, I totally agree with everything. And, you know, from like me putting my nerdy audio engineer's head on for a second, like I can definitely agree with you on, you know, I said like we picked out some of the resonant peaks that
Yeah.
like what it happens is when you get an over promotion of frequencies around that sort of, you know,
Yeah.
4 to 800, it starts to sound a little bit over full. But then when you
Yeah.
get that again at like around 8 to 10K, something like that,
Exactly.
what it starts
Exactly.
to do, it starts to sound unnecessarily a little bit harsh and a little bit
Yeah.
brittle. So, you know, from a mix perspective, they're the things that need to be sort of worked on because
Yeah, just a
what you
little
want.
bit of,
Hmm.
I don't know, Sooth or whatever. There is an amazing plugin. It's just called Rezo, which is nice. It's really cheaper
Oh,
than
really?
Sooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rezo is Reso.
Hmm.
From Mastering Mix maybe.
Okay.
It's nice actually. I got it for 25 quid actually, so it was really cheap, and it
Wow.
works even in the mastering stage or in the mixing stage. I think that
Interesting.
Sooth is a little bit better, in my opinion. It sounds more musical to me.
Hmm.
But if you don't have any Sooth or if you don't have any Reso, you
Hmm.
can always tame it with a Pro Q or with an EQ
Yeah,
or
exactly.
whatever you want.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah,
you don't need it
it's
actually.
funny
But yeah,
it's funny you mentioned that because what I do a lot, I'm gonna bring up my so because I use Logic for these feedback sessions because of the fact that I can hide the main window, but I'll show you exactly what I've got because sometimes I actually do this with people where I actually have a Soothe and a Pro MB that
okay.
I use to kind of point out like this is what it would sound like if this is exactly what you did. And if you actually look like the main thing is like it's around 8K. So what I'm really tempted to do here is to actually just give like a little audible
Okay.
example. So
That's
let
exactly what I would do.
yeah, so like say for example around
Exactly.
here, if
Exactly.
I
That's exactly what I would do.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, let's just if we listen to that now, like it's a lot less hard. You can see the peaks there, right? So if I was there, you can hear that's the harshness being taken out.
Exactly.
That
Yeah.
language, I want anybody
If
to
you
know
listen to that,
that
that's so much more unnecessary.
words can change the world.
Right? So around that 800 as well. That's it. So they're the frequency ranges to work with on either the individual instrument level if you want to do that in the mix, or it could just be a soothe over the entire thing at the end of the
Yeah.
mix stage and
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
beginning of the mastering stage, basically. So yeah, that's pretty much what I would say where that's concerned. That's all that needs because everything else is sitting really, really well. What that will
It's a
do,
good
the other
track. I
thing,
love it.
you know, it's just like even just listen to that little section with the soothe on, it was like, oh, okay, well, I can hear the toms. The toms are starting to come through, and those warmer instruments, because a lot of it is not about frequency levels. It's actually about what it does to your hearing and where it sends your attention.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of warmth in that track, but it doesn't necessarily sound like it because there's an over promotion of frequencies in a different area.
Yeah.
So you know, it's just about bringing that thing into a slightly better balance. But
Yeah.
fantastic, fantastic stuff. All
Totally
right,
agree with you.
yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so what we'll do is we're gonna go like one from the community, one from the public, shall we say? So the next one we're gonna listen to is by a guy called Jacob Driver, and it's gonna be called Ladybugs. And here we go. Let's go. Let me turn soothe off so you can actually hear it. Well, the first thing I want to say is I think we might have found ourselves a talent here.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I think Jacob's got a bit of potential here, if I'm being honest. He's getting
Absolutely.
he's getting a lot of love in the chat. A lot of people
Yeah,
comparing that to
I've seen
like
it.
nature,
I've seen it.
not the Henry Size label that is it
Juris
Natura de
Honoris.
Sonoris?
Yeah, it
Yeah, I think that's a
sounds
good
like
shout.
Juris Honoris. The only feedback that I love to give to this amazing guy, this amazing track, actually, I really like the track. Probably the track that I like most is around 2 minutes, 3 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
when a kind of sort of chord progression, which I really love it. But yeah, the advice which I love to give is probably to create a sort of a contrast
Yeah,
between, you know, uh, um, what I like to say is that maybe you can surprise people. You know what I mean? And if you, yeah, exactly. From that side, I really love that. No, no, on the right side, just
mm-hmm.
it's around the middle of the track. I mean, if you apply some filters and some evolution to the track, I think that the track will sound even more interesting, and you can blur people with some movement to the track. Otherwise, my what I mean to say is that you have to create some dynamic to the track, in order to impress people even
Yeah, of
more.
course. Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you stay, I really love the chord progression. I really love the sounds. I really love the way it turns
Mm.
But if you try to build, yeah, some in Italy we say piano and forte. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so
Yeah,
it's also a dynamic between dark and bright side. The track will be a hit.
I think
That's
so.
my
I
that's my
totally agree
point
with
of
you.
view.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's like I talk about this all the time, when we talk about things like, say, builds and drops. It's like we were
Exactly,
talking about in the previous track. It's like you need that contrast. So you need to go
exactly,
from incredibly big to
exactly,
incredibly small, from
exactly.
incredibly loud to incredibly quiet. It's the
And I think
dynamic that you need.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you apply a sort of filter around 3 minutes to 4 minutes, just a low pass or whatever you want, to
Mm.
make it dark, to make it shine or whatever, you're gonna create that kind of drop that will be incredibly stunning for people.
Yeah.
If you start thinking about that, this is a track for the floor.
Mm.
Um, and if you create that kind of feeling, this will be a bomb on the dance floor. You know,
100%.
it,
100%.
it has an incredible potential, in my opinion.
Yeah,
So
it
if
really
you
does.
create that kind of contrast, like you said, this is going to be huge.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna go into sort of more specifics about like how I think he can optimize this, because for me, I actually think it's more about arrangement than it
Yeah,
is like anything else. Like I thought the mix sounded good. From a technical
yeah, yeah,
standpoint, I think it's exactly where it needs to be.
yeah,
I think the bass in particular sounds really, really good. It's got that
yeah,
kind of like vaguely sort of disco feel I love about
yeah,
tracks
yeah,
like this,
exactly.
and I
Yeah,
love
absolutely.
Henry for that. Do you know what I mean? Like
Totally agree.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw him in here in Argentina last year. He played a 5 hour set of nothing but his own productions. It was
Wow.
incredible. He was absolutely incredible. He really was. Like Henry's amazing, great guy as well. So with this track, what I was thinking more than anything is I agree with you. Like the strongest part is around about 2 minutes. When it
Yeah, exactly.
transitions into the ARP, that sort of melodic ARP. The first one on a more sound design point is I kind of did enjoy when the ARP arrived, but there was another part of me that felt like it was a bit abrupt the way it just sort of slammed in. And that can
Yeah,
work sometimes. Like, I'm not saying it doesn't work,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I like to often offer this as a tip, which is you could put just a small, very, very subtle in there, like a reverse reverb or like a reverse of the first note. So it's like
Yeah,
you get a
yeah.
little whip into it rather than a
Okay.
you know, and it just sort of hammers you over the head.
Agree.
It's a finesse. It's just a little bit of flair that just sort of smooths the transition over, but
Yeah,
it's
agree.
still, but it doesn't take away any of the impact of like, here, have some of this,
Oh,
you know.
yeah.
I actually thought from around here, in general, I thought the breakdown was maybe a bit long, if I'm being honest with you.
Yeah,
Towards
agree
the
with you.
end, I was feeling like, yeah, I'm waiting for this thing to come back in now.
Yeah,
And I feel like in this second half here, while there's some like really lovely progressions in it, it got a bit noodly for me. And it was
yeah,
like, it reminded me of like when I've written not tracks similar to this, but I've been in similar situations where it's like, I am trying to get every conceivable combination out of my brain and into the DAW. So I can then go back later and filter it, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah, exactly. This
yeah.
is this is exactly what I'm saying. I mean,
Hmm.
I mean, in that kind of situation, every single time that I kind of try to build a track, and then if I start thinking about the arrangement, this is gonna be a mess. I mean, when I start thinking that the kind of that my track or a remix that I'm doing is going pretty much nowhere, just empty everything. I mean, I totally forgot about, I create a space, whatever, boom, it's nothing. And I start again from the beginning. And then I put the beginning into that kind of break or whatever. So I try to move things in order to create that kind of contrast. And people can listen to some changes. Otherwise, people probably can get a little bit bored on the dance floor to listen
Yeah.
because we are going nowhere. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe if and another little suggestion that I can give you is you can even shorten it. I mean,
Mm,
it's quite long. I mean, if you don't
yeah.
have too many things to say, just shorten it up. 1 minute. I don't
Yeah.
know. Okay, I don't want to talk about minutes or bars or whatever, but shorten it up. If
Mm,
you or cut it out some parts, and probably people will appreciate even more on the dance floor.
yeah.
If you remember that this track is probably programmed and thought for the for dance for the dance floor. You don't have to worry about that. I mean, 1 minute, 1 minute at the intro, 1 minute at the outro. Just tell your things in 2, 3, or 4 minutes, and
Exactly.
that's it.
Exactly. Exactly. This is a phrase I often use with people, which is when we see arrangements like this, is there's a really, really good 6 minute track fighting to get out of this 7 minute, 45 minute track. And it's about,
Agree.
and if you think about it, this section where it gets a little bit noodly, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's a bad section, it's just
No, of course.
suboptimal because by the time it drops back in, it's like the moment's passed a little bit and it's lost a little bit of energy. And I actually found the second little break here and drop, I found that more effective than the
Mhm.
first. So for me, it's like I think you could actually cut the majority of that section from here at like 3 minutes 24. Or I mean, there you go. It's like it's a minute. Like that whole section's like a minute essentially. You know,
Exactly.
so you could cut a lot of that, or cut it down by 16 bars, something like that, and do
Yeah,
a
whatever.
really good build, and then get that contrast where it's like this is like screaming at the peak, and then it
Yeah,
just drops back down into the groove, and it's just the exact moment to drop it back in, you
yeah,
know,
exactly.
and be able to
But
like really get back to the floor because I feel like we spent too much time like
I'm
not
gonna tell
dancing.
you a short story about the arrangement. I was
Mm-hmm.
creating a track for the balance for it was mixed by I think from Dave Seaman
Mm-hmm.
and Quiver,
Yeah.
the last one, okay? And I sent them a track actually, and they say, okay, Dave got back to me and say, okay, I like the track, and I say, okay, I'm kind of struggling to build something, in that particular moment, which maybe evolve into something better or create something. And he got back to me after a few minutes. Do you really need it, that part? So
Mm-hmm.
I realized by myself that I didn't really need that part.
Yeah.
So I cut it down, and the track worked even more because there is what we really need. I mean, we say something in 2 or 3 minutes or whatever, and the track is done sometimes.
Yeah.
You don't have to be one track of 9 minutes. Sometimes the risk is to be redundant, and
Yeah.
I
Of
don't want to say
course.
monotone, but but nothing else to say. Okay, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? And if I listen to some tracks that Bedrock is releasing right now, they sometimes they release track or 6 minutes, 7 minutes, where every part that I usually listen is kind of essential and it's telling one
yeah,
story. Every single story is important. You know what I mean? So just ask yourself, do I really need this? I'm telling you something new or
mm,
something that kind of in a in a in a way is related to what I'm
yeah,
saying. It's in reach
exactly,
and cover what I'm saying or not.
exactly.
If the answer is not, be honest
Yeah.
with you, of course.
Hmm.
You don't have to say anything else.
No, of
That's it.
course. The number one thing that I see with artists who I mentor, that is the missing piece, because a lot of artists come to us where they've even had some releases and done reasonably well, but they feel like they're missing that, X factor of, like,
Yeah.
what gets to the next level. And
Yeah, yeah.
9 times out of 10, it's the same thing. It's the storytelling's off. Like, they're either not sure of what story they are telling,
Yeah.
or they have a less refined understanding of, like, narrative arc of, like, your track has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And when they
Yeah.
start to think about that, like, I always call it like the hero's journey of the track. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, yeah,
you're
yeah.
telling a 3 act story in like 6 7 minutes, like you were saying before, and every piece, like you were saying with the Bedrock releases, like everything, like nothing is in there that doesn't need to be in there. So that section that Jacob could look at, that we're talking about, we could say, is that part of the main story, or is that like a side quest? Do you know what I mean? To use a
Yeah.
video gaming
Yeah,
term, it's like,
absolutely.
is this main quest, or is this like we veering off into a side quest?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
it's like, okay, if we're veering off into side quests, you've got to be brave and you've got to make decisions that sometimes it's like, yeah, I really like that section, but I'm going to need to lose it in order to enhance the whole of the rest of the track, essentially.
Yeah.
So
Agree.
that's where
Totally
it
agree.
gets into like, really, you've got to be not like brutal, but you do have to be
Of
quite,
course.
you know,
I mean, just honest, you know what I mean?
mm,
Just that's what I wouldn't really, really straightforward. I mean, I don't like telling the things that I don't think, but because it's not fair. I mean, we are here to not to judge, but to give my suggestion, my point of view on a track. This is what I'd love to listen on this particular track. Of course, everyone is free to listen or to to change or whatever
it's all
you want to do.
subjective, isn't it? It's all
Yeah,
subjective.
exactly.
No,
Exactly. It's
absolutely.
absolutely subjective. If this track could be mine, I'd totally, yeah, create some contrast between the lowest part and and some parts,
Mm,
definitely will remove some parts that we don't
yeah.
need to
Yeah,
repeat. That's
absolutely. If there's a kind of a, I don't know, a regime or a way of thinking that can help with that, I call it the Patrice Baumel School of Minimalism.
yeah, exactly.
Because, like,
I
his
really
whole thing is like one of everything and that's it. You know?
exactly.
Yeah, one
Sometimes you
breakdown,
don't
one build
exactly.
up, that's
Sometimes
it.
in these tracks, sometimes you don't hear more than one or two times the same effect. You
Mm,
know what I mean? The same transition. That's it. Because he already told it, and that's to me, it's a finesse. You know
mm-hmm.
what I mean? It's not repetitive. It's telling one story. It's it's one go, so you better listen to it properly because you don't want to miss anything. You know what I mean? But he's really such a master on doing this,
Oh,
and the
yeah,
content,
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
and the dynamic that he creates on his
yeah.
tracks is
And
absolutely
the
incredible.
discipline required to do that is huge. I mean, he's done a couple of these track feedback sessions, and it's like, it's
Yeah,
astoundingly consistent. The feedback, which is like, why do you have two breakdowns? Like, what are you trying to achieve? What is the second one doing that the first one hasn't already
yeah, yeah,
achieved? Like, the amount of
yeah,
times the feedback has been like similar, where it's been like, you could take those two breakdowns, put them together, half the duration, and it will be twice as effective. You know,
yeah,
so this is the thing I love
yeah.
about Patrice, and I love about the feedback that we give, because a lot of it is subtractive. A lot of it is, we're actually giving you less to do, which is the
Exactly.
point. I mean, yeah, sometimes there's feedback where it's like, you need to do more on this, you need to work on this a little bit. But I always find the most effective forms of feedback are when it's like, actually, this big thing that you've just done, like this big section here, guess what? don't have to do it. You've got less to do, and you've got more
Yeah.
time and more bandwidth. And the other thing I always say on, like, just before we move on to the next track is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sections like that contain good ideas. That doesn't mean that that concept is dead. That could
Yeah.
be refreshed and used in a different track where it
Yeah.
becomes the main idea or the main theme, or it has
Yeah.
some
Yeah. Yeah.
use, you know. A lot of the time, like, I mean, I talk about this a lot as well, where a lot of people don't hear a lot of the tracks that I write,
Yeah.
but they hear the babies that those tracks have.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I call them mother tracks, where it's like I just
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
loads of,
Yeah.
like, an album's worth of ideas in one track, and it's like, oh, it's a little bit busy, but that can go in that track, this can go in this track. I can make a whole track out of just this section. And
Yeah.
it's like you just used it as just like a massive canvas to just get all your creative ideas out. And then, you know, there's nothing wrong with like iterating on that either. So
Yeah. Of
no
course.
idea is ever really dead. It's just maybe it just needs to
Agree.
be recontextualized in a different way.
Agree. Totally agree.
Amazing, amazing. Right, we're going to move on because the rate we're going at, mate, we're going to be here all night just
Sorry.
talking.
Sorry.
No, not at all, mate. It's not you.
Yeah.
It's the collective us of us being just all nerdy
Yeah.
and passionate about
Yeah.
this. I love it. So we're going to go back to one of our NYT members called George Yamin, and by his own admission, he's a very big fan of yours, so I had to select this.
Oh, wow.
So
Thank you, mate.
here we go. Here's Progma. giving me like serious like Frankie and Sandrino vibes.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, yeah. And it's nice actually because one of the things I said to George is like this is literally only like a 4 minute sketch that he's done. And I actually like encourage people to put in like works in progress that like aren't like technically like done. Do you know what I mean? It's one of the reasons why I selected this track
Yeah,
specifically is like not only is it like it gives us a bit more to talk about where this could go with the rest of the arrangements, it's actually nice to have people like put in stuff that they're like currently like absolutely working on that's still rough, probably not mixed, not fully arranged, that kind of
yeah,
thing, because like one thing I will just say before I hand it over to you, Guy, is that's kind of what we do with MYT. We actually have sessions like this twice a month. So to explain the format for when you're part of the community after you've signed up is in the middle of each month we have what's called work in progress week. So the
okay.
idea is the tracks that you're working on this month that are works in progress, you bring them
That's
into
amazing.
those feedback sessions. You then get
Okay.
one round of feedback from me and the rest of the community. You then go away, work on it as the work in progress, and then at the end of every month we have what's called finished week, which is like finished track feedback. So the idea is that I've taken it from the work in progress, got the feedback at the end of the month. I've finished it to the absolute like top level that I
Yeah,
can. And basically, here's the finished article. And then hopefully it means that you get into a rhythm of being able to finish tracks every month.
yeah,
So it's a
yeah,
nice sort of like structure. It's like accountability, it's workflow, it's feedback, it's everything all at the same time. So, we found that that's been like really, really effective in helping people get music done to the highest possible standard
absolutely.
and
Yeah,
then go from there. But yeah, I'm really loving this. And you know what I love about this before I hand it over to you, Guy, is
it's all right.
it actually explains the feedback that we gave for the previous record.
I was telling you exactly the same thing. This is exactly the example of what I'm telling you before. He's telling you that story. There's no part that I would delete or I would remove from the track. It's exactly a story from the beginning to an end. That's it. The that I'm not sure
Yeah,
if you can listen to my uh,
maybe it's kind of cutting it
works
out, but don't
absolutely.
worry. Yeah,
Yeah, it works fantastic. It's an amazing idea. Simple idea is it goes straight to your heart. It goes mental because there is a sort of evolution of that, of that synth. So to me, the track it's almost dummy. Yeah, probably some little things to do, but some transitions just to make it a little bit more interesting. But other than that, I think the track is ready to be mixed and it will be incredible on the dance floor.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
There's nothing to
definitely.
say.
Yeah, definitely.
It's ready to be signed and ready to be played by DJs, guys. So it's all right.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's nothing else to do. I mean, I like it. I like it when it stops. I like it
hmm
when the synth and the
yeah.
kicks back in.
I
Exactly what
I
it,
loved I loved it when we were listening to it and it did the drop and you turned around to the camera and were like, yeah, exactly.
exactly.
He's got
That's
it.
what
He's
I
got
was
it.
expecting.
He's
Yeah, yeah,
stuck the landing. He's stuck the landing. Absolutely.
yeah.
No,
The
absolutely.
whisper.
Yeah, of
Yes,
course.
the one.
So for me, you make an amazing point around like keeping the ideas incredibly simple. Because what I tend to do, because I've got this like really well, my brain is a strange place to be at the best of times, my friend. But I've got this really strange brain where it's like on the one side I'm an artist and I'm obviously feeling everything, and on the other side I'm like a really deeply scientific, logical, technical audio engineer.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
I tend to, and it's funny, isn't it? Because it's again going back to Jacob's track, the previous track, that section that we were talking about. It wasn't simple. It was
yeah.
very
Absolutely
like
not.
beautifully constructed,
We articulated exactly. There
really.
was certain things. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
but complex. Whereas the section before was incredibly simple, and
Yeah,
that's what made it more effective. So in the context of that, I think it's really, really important. to kind of point this out, that the best ideas are the simplest ones. And for me, sometimes what I tend to do if I'm giving myself feedback is like, because I'm so skilled as an engineer, I can stuff my tracks with all kinds of stuff. Like I can find corners for all kinds of things that, maybe necessarily don't need to be there. And I tend to kind of like over complicate like
Yeah,
melodic ideas in particular. And that's why I drew a parallel with George and Frankie and Sandrino. Because if you listen to
yeah,
what their stuff is, it's impossibly simple, but it's so effective and it's so anthemic and it's so like
agree.
melodically sticky in the head and in the heart.
Yeah, agree, totally agree. And probably mixed and whatever. They have pretty much everything,
Yeah.
expected on an amazing, an awesome track. What makes a simple idea an effective idea is the way that idea evolve, if you know what I mean. I mean, a simple idea, you don't have to be really skilled in or in on creating incredible melody. But if you're taking a simple idea and if you build this into another way, but it's pretty much the same, but you can change it with effects, with, I don't know, with LFOs, with cutoff, or whatever you want. That's the way of going. Actually, I started creating a lot of melodies, and I saw a lot of people almost, how to say, that they were almost still on the dance floor. But when I tried to remove that kind of melodies and I tried to get an effective idea, and to change the idea and to turn the idea into something a little bit more complex in terms of mixing, in terms of adding some reverbs or whatever, I see people moving.
Yeah.
Because it becomes a little bit more, probably less in the heart, a little bit more mental, but it makes you move in the way.
Absolutely.
Because, and that's exactly the example of a simple idea which goes exactly where it has to go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
well done. Well
100%.
done.
100%. I'll add a
Yeah,
final layer to that, which is I think there's a lot to be learned about what you've just talked about from film scores. And a lot of my experience having written music for films and like, documentaries and stuff like that is, the concept of like, and you know this because you're a music guy, like the concept of a motif, right?
yeah,
A theme. Like again, you listen to Star Wars, for example.
yeah, yeah,
Luke Skywalker's got a theme, Yoda's got a theme, Darth Vader's got a theme. Everyone's got their own theme, and the notes don't change, right? It's not overly complicated. It's the same thing. It's like you hear those like, I don't know, three notes, and it's like, oh, I know Luke
yeah,
Skywalker is about to, appear on screen. But there's this other concept called a reprise, where it's like you basically reprise those or reprise those themes with different instrumentation. And
yeah,
it's the same melodic and harmonic structure. It's the same rhythm, even like the whole concept is entirely the same, but it's played with different instruments. It's in different octaves. It's in different ranges. There's different voicings to it. And that's pretty much exactly what you're talking about, where it's like you take, say, for example, I personally think, and I've said this many times, the best I think the best arranged piece of electronic music I've probably heard in the last 15 years is Conjure Dreams by Maceo Plex
yeah,
on drum code,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
he's got the balls after 3 minutes to just completely reset the track and it
Yeah.
literally starts again. And then the
Not easy at
same
all.
melodic
No easy
ideas
at
come
all.
back in, but
Yeah,
with a completely different set of sounds.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, okay, that's clever. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah, yeah,
constantly keeping
absolutely.
people on their toes, doing
That was a
strange
clever move.
things.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That was an incredible, clever move. Was talking about it. Okay, I just want to be really quick because I don't want to annoy you. I was listening to the Interstellar
Mm,
soundtrack. Okay,
mm-hmm,
they are essentially four notes. Da 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 da
mm,
da 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 da. That's it. But if you start listening to it, and straight at the beginning, and if you see after 10 minutes, which is going always the same repetitive note, it's the concept of, yeah, the repetition, but where it goes, it's
Mm,
unbelievable. And
yeah,
we're still talking about 4 notes. Okay. So it goes here and it goes here, and it
mm,
makes you, and it takes you pretty much everywhere.
yeah,
You can put your own voyage. It's trippy,
yeah.
whatever. And it's really simple in terms of notes. Anyway,
That's
so
that's hands in a nutshell. That, you know, just how to get like incredibly simple themes and then absolutely wring maximum value out of absolutely everything. You know, I
yeah,
mean, like one of my favorite pieces of his work, it still fascinates me. I still listen to it, still fascinates me to this day, is the Joker theme from The Dark Knight, you know, Why So Serious? And there's
you
an
kill
amazing interview
it.
with Hans where he was like, well, you're talking about a character who is the ultimate anarchist. What would
Yeah,
be the most anarchic, chaotic, like anti thing that I could do as a composer? And you know,
yeah,
there's that rising kind of like scratchy sound. He said, I wanted to
incredible.
create a theme for a character that was just one note. Like, because that's the most, you know, anarchic thing. It's like me and Patrice also talk about this as well, where like we
Yeah,
love tracks that kind of almost don't have a melody. They're just like an opaque mood that you
yeah,
can almost like project your emotions onto. Like for
yeah,
me and
yeah,
him, that's the most progressive thing you can do. And
yeah,
it's
exactly.
there's a discipline in being that simplistic and being that, you know, disciplined on, you know. And I often say this when people write melodies, like, because I've taught a music theory course on our platform, and one of the
Yeah,
big things we did was like we did a melody writing class where it was like, okay, we've written this melody, we've written this motif, let's take half, at least half the notes away, and we take half the notes away and it can still say the same thing. So it's like sometimes it's like, you know, I mean, this is a horrible analogy to make because this is me being from the north of England for a second, but it's like it's thrown as much shit at the wall to see what sticks, and basically like keeping the parts that work. That's all it is. It's that. I'm all for, like, as I say, throwing the kitchen sink at things and then stripping things away so you get to that simplicity. That's for me has
yeah.
always been the process. But George has absolutely knocked it out the park there, and I can't wait to hear the finished
Great.
version with the finished, you know, arrangement and stuff. We'll make sure we get that one to you as well as Acetone's track.
Yes, please send it over when ready, buddy. Thank you,
Amazing. I
George.
love it. Okay. So next is actually what we would technically call an NYT alumni. It's Dave Leck, who we actually last year put an album of Dave's out, and it's absolutely stunning. So Dave asked, he said, "Can I present something to Guy?" And I said, "Of course, buddy, of course you can."
Good.
So here it is. This is Somewhere. Dave's one hell of a talent.
What can I say? Send it over, buddy, because I'm gonna play it.
Tell you what, you're getting a good deal out of this today, Guy. You're getting your record box filled up for the next load of gigs.
Exactly. You know what? The other thing that I mean, yeah, it sounds great. It sounds fantastic. It's an amazing track. It's really evocative. It's full of everything, atmosphere. It sounds amazing. Probably the only thing I could change is the third and fourth chords of the piano. I mean, they are probably 2 or 3 different chords. Maybe you can play the same 2 chords, but with, you know, some three notes up or 3
Yeah.
notes down.
Or like an
You're gonna
inversion of the chord, maybe.
exactly what I'm saying. You maybe have 4 chords or 8 different chords, and this is taking the track to, not saying to the next level, but you know, it's evolving in a slightly different way, which may be more interesting to, you know, to listeners.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think the track already sounds amazing. It sounds great.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I mean, he really
Yeah.
nails like a hybrid between, I think, actually now as much as 3 different genres. And based on the feedback we got from Dave's album, one of the biggest artists we got incredible feedback from was Black Coffee.
Wow.
Like Black Coffee was playing like a few of the tracks from the album.
Really?
So he's got this like it's organic to the point of it's kind of crossing over into like Afro just a little
Yeah.
bit. You know, with the percussion and stuff, but not like cheesily so. Do you know what I mean?
No,
He's not walking around with like a napkin on his head like kind of music or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? Like not that I say Dave wouldn't look amazing if he did, but you know, it's that kind of thing. So it's not that it's not in a cheesy way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
operating in that sort of the Venn diagram, like the space in the middle between organic, Afro, and progressive. You know,
Yeah.
which I
Totally
think
agree.
will widen his appeal quite substantially, if I'm being honest. You
Yeah,
know, so
totally.
like from that
100%.
point of view, he's in a really nice spot, and I totally agree with you on the chords because I was hearing like just a couple of voices, you know, within those final 2 chords that just felt slightly off.
Yeah,
You know, when
exactly.
you hear it layered with the bass, and it's like something's just
Yeah,
not quite sat here, and it
yeah.
might be just inverting one note up or you know elsewhere in order to get it into that voicing. Do you know what I
Exactly what
mean?
I was thinking about. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Probably, yeah, invert some chords, you know,
yeah,
instead of C or whatever. You can
yeah,
do pretty much so many different things with the chords.
yeah.
I mean, try them, add 4, add 8, add 12, whatever you want, and
Hmm.
repeat it. But you're gonna have an amazing track and a very mental track. It
Yeah.
sounds amazing. So you can even sound a bit better, but it's ready to be played again.
Oh,
This is
100%.
that
100%. Yeah. And you know, as I say, Dave's such a talent and he just the texture in his records are unbelievable. And, you know, he normally like more than always, like 95% of the time, he always like nails tracks, if you know what I mean. Like at
wow.
the first time of asking in
Yeah.
terms of like, you know, the mix and everything else. So this is like this is what I like to say to people is when we start getting into very, very fine points of feedback like this, it's the
Hmm.
biggest compliment that we can pay because we're
True.
actually having to go looking for something. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like the more fine and the more like I mean, I have a lot of people in the sessions say like, "Oh, you're picking at this one little thing," and it's like, "Yeah, you know why? Because it means it's nearly finished." Like I'm paying you
Exactly.
a huge compliment by I'm trying to push you to try and get every last bit of value out of the track. You know?
And what I'm telling to my kids always, every single day, is that every detail makes the real difference every single time. So it's a little bit detail that can be a small chords, a change or whatever. It will be to several people, not to probably not to the complete people who's gonna dance on this track, but there are some people which will be really really impressed by the
Mm.
chord progression. So if you can do it, that will be amazing. If
Oh
you
yeah.
don't want to do it, it's fine anyway. It sounds amazing, but
Hmm.
it's up to you, buddy. So
Exactly, exactly.
yeah.
So we're going to move on and we're going to listen to Martin Rothermel, who is one of our community members. We actually did the last release on the label with Martin. And this is the guy who I sent you the remix that I did that you loved so much.
Okay, yeah, play
So
it.
this is one of his originals. So here's Ardent.
I love it. Yeah. Probably I'm gonna close a gig with that. I'd love to close a gig with that. It's really yeah. Yeah, I like it, really like it. Big fan of the atmosphere. I mean, of the kind of lead or the kind of vocals, the kind of everything is amazing. Really feel it. Uh, Probably there is something which is bugs me a little bit, which is just to be picky, just um, which are the open hats, especially in the first part of the track.
Yeah.
They seems to me too much, but that's my
Mm.
impression. That's what I felt at the you know. But other than that, I think the track is done. And what else can I say? It's an amazing track. I mean, I love it. Really, really like it. But yeah, mixing wise, I think it's loud. I
Yeah.
heard that the low end is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really
Yeah.
not booming, but it's definitely on point.
Yeah. It's very well done.
Um, yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably the other thing that I could, which is not too harsh, maybe it's too high in terms of volume, in my opinion. But that's my opinion. It's kind of style opinion. You know what I mean? Everyone has his own identity, so just keep it the way it is. If you think that it's right the way it is, so that's my point of view. But at the end, this is an amazing track.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
What else can
Really,
you
really
say?
beautiful. Yeah. I agree with it on the hi-hats because it felt like it was kind of playing one of his cards a little too early. Because
Okay.
I love hi-hats like that, but only at the appropriate time because they can add so much energy. And
Yeah, of
one of
course.
the ways that, and this is what I mean, it's like even a hi-hat can be used as a storytelling device,
Absolutely.
right?
And you know exactly what I'm saying. I'm going to tell you something. That's why, because I've told you before, especially in the very first part of the track, you know what I mean? Because if we're telling about the hi-hat, actually it's an open hat, probably. That's why probably I'm gonna smooth the decay or the release,
Mm.
or the open hat during the first part of the track, and probably I'm gonna open it properly, maybe, yeah, just a little bit longer, or with a vocoder, or whatever you want in the in the second part of the track. That's what
Mm.
to me I felt that it was too much in the first part of the track.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
That's what I felt actually. When I was listening to it, sometimes you don't have to think about it. It's all about what you feel and how you translate the feelings into words. And that's my impression. It was my impression when I felt it the first time, that in the second part of the track it's totally on point for me, and it works properly because it opens it again, and it builds up properly. It's really, it gives, it shines the way it has to shine, you know what I
mm.
mean.
Mm.
But
100%, 100%.
it's my perspective of the story, but it's your story, so feel free to tell the way you want.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, for me, I love that idea of like shortening the decay on it earlier in the track and
yeah,
then lengthening it later. That's one definite way of
exactly,
doing it. I
exactly.
mean, another way is to actually like just leave it out and then just bring it in later on as like a final element, which like presses home the advantage. And
Exactly.
absolutely, like it's another, like the analogy I always use is it's another
Yeah, yeah,
gear in the gearbox, you know. And
yeah,
it's like, you don't want to jump from like, especially where that comes in, it's like you should be in third gear. And for the
yeah,
sake of your gearbox, you don't want to shunt your car from like second gear into sixth, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah.
It's that kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. For me, I've got two other little points that I want to make before we move on, and one of them is around the percussion. There was a part in the
Okay,
second middle of the track where like the more sort of like kind of like those types of percussions, I found them to start getting a little bit repetitive. And I
okay.
feel like there could be a little bit more variation in the
Yeah,
patterns
yeah.
in order to make them more musical and to make them feel like, because I always love percussions where there's like a question and an answer, where
Mhm.
there's like a couple of complementary
Agree.
instruments that are kind of like talking to each other. you know.
Agree.
And there was like, for me, there was like a lot of question, and there wasn't really any answer, if you know what I
Yeah.
mean. So you can like just refine that, and add some variation and some detail into those, and then be able to bring them out in the mix. I think that would really, really help. And
Yeah.
then the final thing, I did take a little bit of a look at, you were saying like it's mastered loud. For me,
Absolutely.
I think it's a little bit over loud in terms of the way that
Yeah.
it's been limited, because I mean you can even see it in the waveform where it's like, there's a section here like
It was about 7
really,
RMS, right?
yeah, it was like,
7.2
yeah,
RMS.
yeah, because what
That's
I
too much,
always,
buddy.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So I always reference to -8 LUFS as being like an
me too.
absolute top thing,
Yeah, me
right?
too. Me too.
And when it kind of, gets above that, then that's when you're starting to get into things being squashed. And even like,
Yeah,
say, for example, on like Metric AB, I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, and anything in that sort of 7 range is like going to start sound a
yeah.
bit loud, borderline a bit squashed. And with his type of music, it needs a little bit more dynamics. It needs a little bit more
Agree. Totally agree
space
with
for
you.
it to breathe. Because I mean, I think what Martin's doing, he said this is something a little bit different for him, because he's really good at doing that. That like 119, really floaty, almost
Oh,
like
really?
chiasmosy, neoclassical,
Yeah.
like
How much? How many BPMs is that?
that's a good question. I think this one's a bit quicker. This felt like about
Yeah.
122,
Probably one, two,
123.
two, 1, 2, 3. I'm not
Yeah,
sure. Anyway, probably
yeah,
because I was telling you because of the kind of open hats because he gives a proper drive to it. You know what I mean? So it yeah, it's good anyway. I mean, that's why because sometimes it puzzles me where to how to play it, and I'm talking about from a DJ point of view.
mm.
That's why I told you that's something that I've used to close a gig or a night
Oh
because
yeah,
it's probably it comes from a little bit more energetic story, and to me closes. It fades into a proper magic, if
yeah.
you
Of course, yeah.
understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mentally, it takes me into a place where it's like the lights have just come up and it's like 7 in the
yeah,
morning, and this is,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? This,
that's the point of view of DJ, but you know it very well. So that's what I'm saying.
oh yeah.
I love it anyway.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Right, I've just brought up the mixed in key live just in case we need to know BPMs in keys for later on.
Okay, thank you,
So
buddy.
yeah, I should have added that from the beginning. I mean, anybody would think I'm a professional at
That's
this
all
or
right.
something. So
Just
anyway,
curiosity.
well, yeah, exactly. So what we're gonna do is the next one we're gonna play is a great artist named Kick Doctor. I actually really like that.
Yeah.
It's like, it sounds like a service where you can send them your kick drums and he can fix them for you. I love that. So I'm gonna bring it up because there's quite a long fade in here, which I actually would say is probably like the first bit of feedback I would
Yeah.
give. But
Well, it's the best.
yeah, that kind of thing. So I'm gonna bring it in just around here, about a minute in, and here we go. Let me just make sure everything's right on there, and there we go. I don't know about you, my friend, but I think there's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of like really good ideas. And if it's
Agree.
structured properly
Yeah,
from some of the arrangement choices that have been made here and on one or two of like the mixing side of things about levels and stuff, I think this
yeah.
has got a lot of potential to fly.
Totally agree with you. I mean, that's something that probably a lot of people are missing at the moment because, that he has the kind of trancy vibes of the late 90s, you
Mm,
know, um, which I loved actually. We didn't have anymore. So I agree with you. With a proper arrangement, with a kind of leveling in terms of mixing down, and there was a kind of strange feeling that I hear, and that kind of loop, the hi-hat loop that you
mm,
use it. It's slightly out of time. I don't know what it is.
mm,
It's a kind of delay, which is not bad.
mm,
I mean, I like it because I think he did it on purpose. And I love the energy. I love
mm.
the kind of bass line. So yeah, um, it has an incredible potential to me. Agree.
Yeah,
Agree with
totally.
you. Probably in the second breakdown, second break, there was something in which I changed. Probably I'll remove everything with a long drone, with a long pad, and then I
Mm,
go straight to because having two different break or long breaks sometimes a little bit risky in terms of playing stuff. But it depends on where you're playing or the kind of crowd you're
mm,
playing for. But other than that, what can I say? I mean, it's really different track,
mm,
which is a good thing.
mm,
If you know what I mean. I mean, it has no rules at all, and I like it. It reminds me some, Darius. Darius. It was, that kind of vibe between trance and kind of a 707-ish techno, whatever. But
mm.
I really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has incredible potential and probably will be a very different track.
Mm,
That's something I could play, honestly, as
mm,
well. I mean, probably during the late night or whatever, just to see, just to get um, some reaction, some strange reaction from the dance floor because
mm.
you never expect where to go with this track,
Yeah.
and
No,
that's
absolutely.
what I
Yeah.
really like.
I think it's similar in what I was saying about Dave in that it actually sits across a couple of little sweet spots for me, where
Yeah,
it's got a real feel and a I don't mean this in a bad way, but like a whiff. I always say it has like a whiff
yeah,
of something. Like it
yeah,
has a whiff of like you were saying that late 90s prog. Like there's
yeah.
parts where like the vocal comes in and it's like this is starting to really make me think of like the Baggio track, from Yoshi Toshi
Agree.
back in the day, like the
Yeah, yeah.
bedrock remix of that. But then there's other
Exactly.
parts of it that are a bit trancy. And then there's other
Yeah,
parts where I'm like, this is like close to like a more modern melodic techno record.
yeah,
And obviously that style, it has its fans and it
yeah,
has
yeah,
its
yeah, yeah, yeah.
detractors and stuff like that. But and of course I'm horribly biased when I say this because I mentored him. But artists like Masano are just fantastic examples of this type of genre, in terms of like how things are mixed, how things are put together. So I'd say to the Kick Doctor to actually like use those records as like a reference, and specifically when it comes to like, and again this is similar ground that we trod before with another track. um there's two breakdowns there, and functionally those two breakdowns kind of do the same thing. So actually you only really need one of them. And again, it goes back to other tracks we talked about in this session where it's like what you need is the contrast. You need that big build and then drop it down to emptiness, to just the kick and the sort of the
The
rolling
baseline,
hard
wherever you want to,
bass.
yeah,
Yeah,
agree
exactly,
with you.
exactly. Because it drops back in and it's like, I was saying that analogy of like playing the card too early. It's like it plays all of its cards at once and then there's no other rhythmic development. So
Yeah,
you would need to add in, like, rides and other 16ths and other things to try and keep it moving. Whereas, like, it's a palette reset after a breakdown, because you take
yeah,
all of those sounds that might have been in previously to the break and the build, and it's like it's a cleansing of the palette, and you give people enough chance to miss those sounds. So when they're reintroduced like 8, 16 bars later on, it's like, oh, I haven't heard that for a while. Oh, good. Yeah,
yeah,
that's nice. You know what I mean? And it
yeah.
allows
Totally
the
agree.
track to run through the gears once again. So I think with a tighter arrangement, and like we said on the mixing side, for me, I think the number one thing in terms of feedback I would say to look at is, ironically, for an artist called Kick Doctor, is that the kick's too low and that the bass is too high. So, you listen to a lot of these modern melodic techno records, the kick is like thunderously big, so you'll want a
Yeah, yeah.
nice, substantial kick in there, and then the bass to be rolling around and then side chaining and almost like ducking and diving in the off beats, where it can, like, have its say. And then that sort of like side chain sort of groove, that
Yeah, yeah,
pump,
yeah.
that undulation, really serves to add energy. You can obviously do that with a compressor, you can do it with something like a kickstart or a shaper box or an
All the
LFO
LFO
tool,
tool. Yeah, exactly.
all of
Yeah,
those
yeah, yeah.
things, what I mean, to give that energy. But I think in general, I think there's a really, really beautiful record that's going to come out of this once, once, like, there's a discipline in the arrangement and some of the sounds have been, sort of rebalanced from a mixing perspective.
Yeah, yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah.
At the same time, we gotta say that this track is really one of a kind. So it's a good
Mm,
thing for you, buddy.
yeah, man.
Well done, because nobody does that kind of track
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yeah.
So well done, because he could be really effective on a
Mm,
dance floor, on the
yeah.
market. Maybe it's fresh air for something new. So well done to you. Just exactly. I'm really happy to, I was thinking about that. We had listened to six, maybe seven tracks now,
Hmm.
six tracks, and they are totally different.
All
When I
completely
mean,
different.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. They're covering such a variety of tracks, which is amazing to me.
Yeah.
It never happened because sometimes okay, I don't want to say the pool, which I usually listen to tracks, and they are pretty much the same. I mean, I
Mm.
started after a while, I was still listening to the same track and the same kind of stuff. So well done. Okay, okay.
Well, we try and switch it up and make it interesting, for sure.
Yeah, it is absolutely.
Yeah. So we've had a couple of really interesting YouTube comments here, and then we'll start with the Kick Doctor, because that's who we're on. He said it's so helpful. Dude, he's only 6 months into producing and he's already making records like
Fucking
that.
hell, buddy.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
exactly. My internal
Sorry.
reaction. No, it's fine. It's fine. We're past 9 o'clock. It's not a family show
Okay,
anymore.
okay, okay.
It's fine.
So anyway, so
Yeah,
well done, mate.
yeah. And he said,
Also, because
"Thank
90s
you."
trance is my blood. It's 90s trance is my blood as well.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
almost 50. So
yeah, yeah.
you understand that feeling. It's something that you can, it's there. Unfortunately, you can deny it. It's in our DNA. So it's part of us. So well
Absolutely.
done,
My entry
man.
point into this entire world was going to see Paul Oakenfold at Cream every week in 1998.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? I
Exactly.
still look upon those. I mean, I still hear the odd set where it's like, ooh, gives me the old feeling, the old rush.
I played for him in Malta the last summer together with him for 30 years of
Oh, perfecto.
yeah, upper factor is that. And it was such an amazing feeling because several people were part of that movement.
Oh my God, yeah,
And even though you can express with words, but you
yeah,
can feel it.
yeah.
If you are almost 50 right now, or 45 or whatever, you lived that period.
Oh yeah.
It was impressive. I mean,
Oh
that
my God.
something changed in that era,
Yeah,
and it's incredible
yeah,
what they
yeah.
did, what he did for me in terms of music and what he did in terms of kind of giving people something else, which
Mm,
was not house, which was not deep house or whatever. It was
yeah.
incredible.
No, it
So
really was. Yeah, yeah. I
okay, sorry.
agree. No, I
Okay,
agree. I
go
agree
on, go on,
totally.
go on.
And just add another layer to that of, like, you know, it really was like an incredible time where like anything
Yeah.
felt like it was possible, and we were just all, even like in the crowds. I mean, I remember like being in the crowd at Cream, listening to Oakenfold every week, and then like,
God.
you know, Sasha was playing and everyone else in like other rooms in the club, and it just felt like we were just exploring the outer limits, the outer dimensions of like what this music was capable of at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
It really did. And it was like, you know, it almost like every week it's like, it must be like what it's like working in AI now or something, where it's
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
you're making every week, you're making a breakthrough. There's a new discovery, there's a new artist coming out, or there's a new sound. There's like, have you heard this thing? This is unlike anything I've ever heard before, you know. And
yeah.
like the people like Paul brought forward, like he doesn't remember, but when I was like very, very, very young, like in that time, I actually met Hanan at Cream in Liverpool,
Oh,
because
wow.
Hernan came over from Argentina because he was already like, you know, working with Paul and stuff. And
Yeah.
it was like, you know, I met Hernan like 20 odd years ago. Like, we don't remember. Like, I mean, I remember, but, you know, it was like the people who were coming through, like Tilt, like Quiver, you know, all these guys were just coming through and coming through perfecto. And just a really, really special time with like really special music. And you know, friends, you know, people who I met on the dance floor in that year in 1998. There's literally people who I met the very first night I went to Cream in like January of 1998 that I'm still friends with now, like 25,
Wow.
30 years later, you know?
And the fact that we're still thinking about, we're still talking about that era is incredible. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the point. I mean, they really changed. They offered something really unique. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the great thing is like, you know, talking to Sasha about it, you know, as he said, like there was, because he was very much like, you know, superstar DJ like 001. You know, he was the
Yeah,
first one to go on the cover of magazines
yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
like that.
yeah,
And it was a wild time for him. And the way that he explained it to me was amazing. He said, like, look, there was no manual. Like we were all just like figuring it out and you know, winging it and, you know, working it out as we went along, you know. So what a wild time. And I think we still feel the ripple effects of it now, you know.
the pioneering way of doing things. You know what I mean? That's why we're talking about it. That's
Mm,
really
yeah.
pioneeristic. If you,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's also one of the reasons, like, you know, before we move on to the next track, like, this is one of the reasons why I live in Argentina now, is because
Oh,
it gives me, like, the feeling that we have here on the dance floors here in places like Buenos Aires and Rosario and Mendoza and Cordoba.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It very much reminds me of what it was like in the back end of the 90s. Like, there's a magic here that's not quite been lost for some reason.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's just, for me, it's like it's the best place in the world to enjoy electronic music. It really is.
yeah, yeah.
So,
I
you know,
agree with you.
anyone who hasn't been needs to. And yeah, it's been pretty life changing for me, buddy. So hey, next time
It
you're in,
is actually, I think for everyone, because
oh yeah,
if you have some, if you have some relationship with the Argentinian people talking about music, there is something which resonates with them. I mean, I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm Italian, okay? So every single time that I met Argentinian people talking about music, there is something which is a kind of relationship, even
yeah,
though with people I never met before, and they're moving
mm,
as a whole, as a whole thing. I don't know what it is,
yeah.
but you know, so.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Okay.
Something very, 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 very special. So yeah, the
Yeah.
other little comment that we'll have before I play the next track is actually Jacob Driver, who we actually made a feedback for him earlier on. He said, "Oh my God, my track made it in. I'm the biggest Guy Barone fan ever. Thank you
Oh,
so
love
much
it.
for the
Thank you,
wonderful feedback."
Jacob. Appreciate it, Jacob. Lovely work, buddy. Thank you.
You're well loved, mate. You're well loved. And why not? Okay, next one from one of our NYT members. This is Paul Woods, called Rinker. And Paul is one of our OG members. He was here from like day one, so it's great to have him
Oh,
play a track for
wow.
you. So here we
Cheers,
go.
man.
some straight up Patrice Baumel material right there, I think.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, agree with you. I like it. I really like the track, buddy. Nothing to say. I mean, the other thing that I like to actually, if it would be again my track, I would add another layer to the bam bam bam
Yeah.
bam bam. Bam. I really love the way when it starts the dun 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 dun. Really love that one, that vibe. I mean, that's a track to me. So probably I would go with another synth, probably saying the same thing of the dun 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 dun. So maybe layering it or maybe do some kind of different notes in terms of, um, just like talking to the with the main one, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but other than that, I think the track is done. It sounds amazing. The kick is so
Oh yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. It's
really on
fantastic.
point. I mean,
Love the
so
arrangement as well. Arrangement's so on
yeah, yeah,
point.
exactly. I
Yeah.
really love the vocal because it was totally unexpected. It
Mm.
caught my attention when it comes in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was great, great track. Who did that track?
A guy
Because I
called
can see
Paul Woods.
whole words. Okay, well done, Paul.
Amazing.
Great job,
Amazing.
man. I
So,
loved it.
oh mate, I loved it as well. So for me, it's like, I mean, talking about those vocals just before the drop, I
Yeah,
love how ballsy that is as a move to not only just let it run completely, almost like to silence, and then to do something that left field, that out of the blue, and
yeah,
then the discipline, right? Now, what I mean by the discipline is I was very lucky once where I got to meet Nile Rodgers from Chic, right?
yeah.
And we had an amazing conversation. We were just talking about stuff. And it was at a music conference at IMS in Ibiza, the music conference that they have there every April, May. And
Mhm.
we got talking because he heard that I have got a Liverpool accent and I'm from Liverpool. And he actually approached me and he said, if it wasn't for you boys, I wouldn't be here. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, oh, I learned to play guitar from a Beatles songbook.
Wow.
And like just a little aside he said, basically think about it. He goes, no Beatles, no me. No me, no disco, no disco, no hip hop, no hip hop, no house music, nothing. So it's like he
Yeah.
said, like it's the 6 degrees of separation that always ends up back at the Beatles, no matter what, which is a funny thing to
Yeah.
think about. But he talked about like one of his greatest sort of techniques, if you will, was something he called the one time only event, which
Yeah.
was the thing that happens in a record that is so astonishing and so like out of left field. And the discipline, and this is what I mean with Paul, what he's done with these vocals, is to
Yeah.
not do it again, is to just do it the one time in the record. And like
Yeah.
as Niall said to me, what you want people to do is, metaphorically speaking these days, or sometimes
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah. Yeah.
pick the needle up off the record and put it back to that section to listen to it again to make sure you heard it right the first time.
Yeah.
You know, so
Wow.
that's
That's
what he's
true.
done here. Phenomenal,
Yeah.
absolutely phenomenal. I
Yeah, I agree
totally
with you.
agree with you on the main synth. One thing that came to me while I was listening to what you were saying about it, about layers,
Yeah.
is there's I found, and it might be the way that it's mixed and the way that it kind of like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
cascades upwards, is that it was getting a little tiring for me when it was getting closer and closer to the peak. So one of the
Yeah.
ways you can kind of play with that is obviously make it over a more gradual curve, and
Yeah. Yeah.
have
Yeah.
it like sort of be a bit more of a journey in terms of like it going up and
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pulling back
Yeah.
and shorter and longer notes. That's one way of doing it. The way that you were talking about with like the layering is actually have the same, again, it's a motif, same
Yeah.
notes, two different sounds
Yeah,
talking to each
exactly.
other, like call and
Usually,
response.
yeah, I usually do it on my tracks, and I find it
Hmm.
really effective in terms of, adding something more to the track,
Mm,
or if you layer it. I really appreciate the fact that he, probably with a pitch, he turned an octave up
mm,
at a certain point, and it's a good move actually to make the things more interesting on the track. You know what I mean? So you're not always there, but there is an evolution in terms of the synth and the synthesis in general. So it's an amazing thing that I personally I really appreciate it because
yeah,
we
of
are going
course.
somewhere, and the track is not it's not always in the same point, but it's a kind of going back and forth, going up and down. There's something really amazing that I love listening to the music. Changes, even though exactly the motive is always the same, but there is an evolution and an involution of that track. So well done.
No,
So
amazing.
it's an amazing track. So again, what can I say? Probably maybe you can add a little bit more kind of variation to 30, 8 bars or 32 bars with some fills or
Ear
some
candy, as we
percussion
would
at the
call it.
end. Yeah, exactly. But other than that, I think the track is amazing. It sounds great. So
Amazing. Great stuff. Awesome. Right,
good.
so we're going to move to the next. This is Mario One, who is coming in from outside of the community. So it's going to be fun to see whether or
Okay.
not we've discovered another new talent that we can check. So
Well,
here we
Mario.
go. Here we go. again, I think it's one of those ones, Guy, isn't it, where it's like, I think there's a lot of potential, and I think there's some really nice elements and nice sounds, but it's coming down
Yeah,
to like structure and levels and some
yeah,
arrangement stuff as well, I think, mate.
yeah, I agree. I mean, the main synth probably comes too late.
Yeah,
Okay.
agree.
And I really love the bass line.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we need some, some evolution of the bass line,
Yeah,
probably.
some
Yeah,
cut-offs
exactly.
and lead the high end out, let it sort of evolve,
Exactly.
expand, contract. Yeah.
But I like the track because I found it so almost an indie dance track. I mean, that kind of snares probably reminds me some kind of indie stuff. I don't know where to place it in terms of marketing. If you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean, which is a good thing. I mean, everything which doesn't have any proper connotation, isn't a connotation in
Mm-hmm.
English,
Yeah, yeah.
is an amazing thing because you can put anywhere in terms of marketing, which is a good thing in my opinion. I mean, it always blur the boundaries between one genre and another one.
Mm.
I mean, there is elements from different words again on this track. I mean, there is a kind of elements from indie, elements from trance, elements from techno. I like the track. I think you should. This guy Mario, ciao Mario, which is Mario One Music. I think the track is amazing. It sounds great. The other thing you could do is probably shorten the intro because it's too long, in my opinion, and the peak time of the track comes a little bit later in terms of, as a from a DJ point of view, if you know what I mean. But it may work, which is a fantastic thing. So well done, mate.
Mm.
Um, uh, I'd love to play this track as well, probably. So why not?
Yeah,
I
why
mean,
not?
I would change the other thing. If I could work on this track, probably I would remove a little bit of the intro
Yeah.
and probably make some, some main melody, main lead appear in the very first part, filtered or whatever, just as an introduction of what is going to happen.
Yeah.
And but the track is already almost there to
Mm.
me.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. So I'm just going to add, obviously, another layer to that. I totally agree with
Yeah,
everything you said. Again, it's like there's an amazing 6 minute track fighting to get out of this 8 minute one.
yeah,
Like you could literally probably do away with the entire first minute if I'm being completely honest with you, and you could start from that point
agree,
really,
agree.
and it can get because it doesn't really get going until like sort of 2.5 3 minutes really, and then like that main synth, like it comes in like around like where this breakdown is here, and it really needs to, like you were saying, it needs to bleed in a lot earlier. I mean, the good news is that everything's there. Like it
Yeah,
has everything it needs. It's just
yeah, yeah,
about
agree.
how it's leveraged. Um, in terms of like as we were saying with the baseline, yeah, it's really punchy and it's rolling. Don't be afraid to do. I love doing this where once I've got the basic arrangement where I want it, excuse me, I'll do like automation passes with like a controller, like I've got a APC40 here, or just a MIDI controller with some like rotary controls, and I'll do like a manual pass, like example on the bass line, right the way from the beginning to the end of the track, with just me cascading the filter cut off up and down.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And I find it so funny actually,
Yeah,
because I'm doing something manually, if you know
yeah,
what I mean, and the
yeah,
result is always different.
yeah.
You're doing something less, less mechanic, but
Mm-hmm.
more, there is a human feeling which works even better in doing things like those. If you know what I mean, there is something which is not exactly predictable. It's human and it's a human touch that brings some magic to your tracks. So try to do this and it works very well for me
Yeah.
every single
Oh,
time that I do.
100%.
Yeah, yeah,
100%.
yeah.
And then the good thing is that you can start to bring in that main synth in earlier and then do something similar. And then all of a sudden you've got, as one rises, the other one falls, one comes up to replace it. Again, it's another version of like you know,
Yeah,
the call and response that we were talking about before. So Mario's just said in the comments here, radio version. It's not a radio version. Like a
it's
radio
not a radio
version
version,
would be
but
like 2.5 minutes, you know, for Spotify
unfortunately,
and
the
stuff like
things
that.
changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately, yeah, 2.5. It was a radio version.
Yeah.
Um, on nowadays music, okay, well, let's talk about this because we have to face this processing of, there is an evolution of music, okay. If you want to play something about 11 minutes tracks, probably it won't work as it used to. Well,
Hmm.
that's the point. Probably bring your ideas again with 1 minute, 1.5 minute intro and 1.5 minute outro, and bring in your idea and
Mm.
for idea and what you really want to say with
Yeah.
that track, 2 or 3 minutes, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the way of
Hmm.
speaking to people, translating music into something, into the dance floor
Yeah.
today, nowadays.
Absolutely.
Which is a good thing, a bad thing, I don't know. But it's what works today, what it works today.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, as a producer, I was struggling myself because I was doing a remix of a track today, and it was 8 minutes long. But again, so I really need to cut some parts which people, unfortunately, will get bored in 2 bars more.
Yeah.
And I have to face this issue if I want to bring some competitive music.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
And
that's training point. That's what I think. Yeah, you can accept it, but unfortunately, that's what it goes today, what it works today, and that's the point. I mean, you have to face this, or
yeah.
we all have to face this.
Yeah, we all have to. And the thing that's really interesting for me, I think, you know, when we talk about arrangements, I think when I see an arrangement like this, one of the big recommendations that I make, which actually is something we all do, and I'm gonna sort of destigmatize this. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you can't do that's cheating," that kind of thing. Yeah, you want to know the big names that I've worked with in studios that all use reference tracks all the time
Me
for
too, of course, me too.
sound design, arrangement, mixing,
However,
mastering, you know, that's the thing. So one of the things that I've always taught people when it's like arrangement skills and trying to get the arrangement skills really tight, really on point, is put a reference track of where you're trying to get to, put it in your session, put it in the DAW, put it at the top track.
yeah, yeah,
And then, regardless, like every DAW's got some form of like marker or locator system.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Put every time something significant changes, put a locator in there, put a little description on the title of it of what's happening, hats in, mini break, drop, you know, all of that stuff. And then what you could actually do, and this is an interesting thing to do, is like once you've got that, you can delete the reference track. And then you've got a
Yeah.
set of guideposts, like, you know, like it's like a satellite navigation. It's like we've got a load of signposts towards what you could do in that particular moment, and it just starts to really tighten up your arrangements, and you don't have to like be a slave to that arrangement
Yeah,
track, so a
of course
reference
not.
track. But at the beginning, it's actually a good idea to, because you can figure out how these tracks are made in the first place.
Totally agree with you. And what I want to say again is that after a couple of hours that you built your own track, you totally forget the reference. You can
Hmm.
delete it, whatever. And in a couple of days, you totally forget that you use the reference to build that track because it will be your track and not the reference or the copy of a reference or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're going to proceed, you're going to move on with your own identity, and you're going to bring your authenticity, you're going to bring your instrument. This will be your own track, and the
Hmm.
reference will be just a kind of help, just a starting point, where just a sort of a canvas. Unfortunately, I really need canvas to work on a track.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I'm too, unfortunately, I forget, I can probably build a track of 15 minutes if I don't have an arrangement. Other 2 hours or 3 hours of working on the arrangement, I totally forgot that I'm using a reference. And that's it. You're going to build your own track, but at the same time, you're going to build a competitive track because you use a reference of a track that has been released, and maybe you loved it, and maybe you liked it, and maybe you played it, and maybe you tested on a club and it worked. So why not?
Exactly.
That's
People.
an incredible, a very good advice from Paul. Just follow a reference as an arrangement, follow what it happens, when the hat comes in, when the drop is, when the break is, whatever you want, and try to, it's an amazing helping hand, and it works.
Yeah, 100%. Everything's
Yeah,
here to help you. Everything's here to teach you.
exactly.
It's
Exactly.
like another concept I always talk about is, we were talking before we went on air about synth presets and how sometimes you can have too many of them. But one of the ways in which they're really helpful is that if you want to learn sound design skills, if you think about what a synth preset is, it's a collection of knobs and faders and buttons that are in a certain position.
Yeah.
That's all it is. The secret to that sound is already there. It's looking at you, you know?
Yeah.
And like I always used to love like reverse engineered and synth presets by
Me
like,
too.
okay, I'm gonna put that
There's so
on,
many days in there.
listen, the
Yeah.
okay, okay, that's how that's done. Okay, fine. And then it just becomes part of your vocabulary of sound design as well. So absolutely everything out there, Mario, is there to teach you, if you choose to look at it the right way.
Agree.
Yeah,
Thank you,
absolutely.
Mario,
No,
for
thank
submitting
you.
this respect. Because
Indeed.
you taught us so many different things. Yeah, so thank you. I'm learning from Mario as well, so I'm not saying anything. That's another point of view on building tracks. Maybe it will work. Maybe it's a futuristic way of making music. So I'm not complaining at all. I mean, that's another point of view, which is really enriching me, empowering my way of
100%.
thinking and seeing music.
100%.
So I thank you for
100%.
that.
No, fantastic. Okay, we've got 2 to go. How's your energy level, Guy?
Really enjoying it, mate.
Amazing, amazing.
What do
Same.
you do? Other 10?
Don't. We've got people in the comments saying, "Can you listen to my track?" We'll be here till tomorrow, Argentina time. Never mind Italian time.
Okay.
So this one's called Neon Night. I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't quite catch the name of the person because they didn't put the name in the track. By the way, I'm going to give you the first point of feedback right now. If you did that to
Okay.
a record label, you're not getting signed.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, whoever this is, make yourself known in the comments. Please put your artist name on the tracks, and please, hopefully, you're not sending stuff like this to record labels because that might be why you're not getting any joy. Anyway,
Yeah.
right, here we go, and here's Neon Nights. I'm so confused right now.
Mauro, we gotta say that you are crazy.
Yes,
Crazy,
in the
crazy. That's
best
amazing.
possible way. In the best possible
Yeah,
way.
of course, of course.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
Crazy.
confused because I feel like I've heard about 15 different genres in one record.
Let's call it schizophrenic. Can we call it schizophrenic
I
or
think
whatever you?
so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but like in a good way, you know.
Of
We can
course, of course. Always in a good way.
yeah,
Of course.
we can call it schizophrenic, but I think the voices in my head disagree.
Mauro, you got our attention. I mean, wow, you
Yeah,
took me pretty much everywhere.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know where to
totally.
expect. I mean, if this is the first chapter of your music, I cannot wait to listen to the second chapter
Oh yeah,
because this is gonna
absolutely.
be crazy.
No, absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely. So for me, it's like it's got this amazing like dub reggae
yeah,
King
yeah, I've heard the
Tubby.
same thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
when the break came in, I was yeah, it was really
yeah,
reggae.
yeah, yeah. Were you ever across any of the sort of the San Francisco sort of West Coast stuff that came through like early 2000s, like DJ Garth? That kind of
Yeah,
thing. Like it reminded me of that actually. Like there was
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah,
real
yeah,
heavy, like after the, you know, just slightly after the likes of, Hippie and Halo and like H Foundation and that whole
yeah,
sound
yeah.
came like the real dub reggae influence. It kind of reminded me of something like that. And then
Yeah,
like
me
the
too.
fills sounded like something from like an EDM record. And
Yeah,
then like it was just I don't know where I am at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so in a
I
way, I'm gonna be honest. Like, it's so strange in a good way that it's actually quite difficult to give feedback on because it's
I
just
agree with
so
I gotta agree
singular.
with Paul because I just don't know where to you know I just don't know what to say. I mean, there are so many elements from so many different genre, so many different words that
Mm,
you know that you don't know where to go. Actually, I wouldn't know where to go in a
mm,
good way. Again, it's a positive thing because you really create something totally new that and
mm,
it was totally unexpected.
mm. No,
So
absolutely,
it's a
absolutely.
really wow track. I mean,
Yeah.
if you in terms of wow, you really surprised me.
Oh
So
yeah.
I don't know what
Yeah.
to say.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I mean, I think, if you, the problem is the feedback I would give would potentially sort of like slightly neuter and like homogenize what he's
Yeah.
done, which is also the point why we're so surprised and so blown away by it is because it does something so completely out of left field. I mean, I could tell them to like, oh, those EDM fills, you could make them a bit more sort of dub reggae, and then I'm just
Yeah.
showing Mauro how to make I don't know, a dub techno track that's got a bit of a
Yeah.
reggae influence, and it's like, well, we've heard that before. This is like, again, it's completely singular and it's completely
I think you
different.
should interview Mauro.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we should get him on for the
Wasn't it?
next feedback session.
Exactly. Just to know where is it going? I mean,
Yeah,
Mauro Montanari, your name sounds so Italian, so
I
constantly
think he
just
is. Yeah.
I'm really curious to know you personally, just to know, yeah, to get some ideas on making music.
No,
You're
absolutely.
incredible. It's an
Yeah.
ocean of the ideas. So well done, Mauro, for
It
you.
really is. Yeah, it's a beautiful way
Crazy,
of putting it.
crazy
It's a
guy.
beautiful way of putting it. And
Yeah,
again, like, there's like a few little mixed things that I would say, like that sort of like main almost like theremin type sound is maybe a little bit loud through the track, and that just needs a
yeah,
little bit of work. But other than just like, just giving it like a polish, it's like it defies like
yeah.
it's someone's just put it Kevin Bongworth in the comments just put it needs a second listen to really understand it. That was wild. It was like a 70s visit to the next dimension while on LSD. It really was. It was like, yeah, yeah. It was like, like you used to get those interludes in like episodes of like Star Trek or something like that, where it all just goes really trippy and stuff like that. It was something. It was like that. It was great. It was fantastic. Wow. Yeah, Neon Nights is actually a really good name for that track, by the way. So I
Yeah,
take back what I
absolutely.
said about the intro of the track. No, so yeah, I know there's not a lot of feedback in there, Mauro, but one thing you can say the feedback is we're blown away. We're extremely impressed. And
Yeah.
really, the only thing we've got for you is encouragement to keep exploring, buddy. Because honestly, like, if this is the beginning, I can't wait to hear it like 6 months, a year, a
Yeah,
couple of years in.
exactly. And again, if you want to, from a very, from a very, yeah, from my perspective, okay, from my point of view, if you want to release a track like this, I think you should decide which genre you wanted to go on with,
Yeah.
when
Mm-hmm.
being kind of more coherent with one style. Unfortunately, that's the point. I mean, you gotta choose EDM, you gotta choose the dub techno, whatever, and
Mm,
try to be kind of more similar in terms of, sample the kind of sample you're gonna use, the kind of style you're gonna use for that.
mm.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the thing you could do if you want to release that track. Try to avoid different styles or different genre and try to connect them or to be more uniform or to be more coherent with the style you want to
Mm,
release that track.
yeah. No,
That's,
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. That's where my feedback would go in terms of
yeah,
like,
yeah,
really
exactly.
leaning into the dub reggae, dub techno-ist of it all,
Yeah, exactly.
Like there's parts of it that really remind me. Have you ever heard of Deep Chord, Rod Medell?
Yeah, yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
huge fan of that guy. Like it's got
Crazy
that kind
stuff.
of feel to it.
Yeah,
Amazing
yeah,
stuff.
crazy stuff, lovely
Phenomenal.
stuff, really peaky stuff at the same time. It's
Mm,
really, yeah, but it's an incredible trip.
it really
So
is. Yeah.
yeah,
Trip is the operative word, I think there.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's gonna
Trippy
take me
track.
gonna take me time to kind of come back down after that. Yeah.
Okay.
Right, so we're into the final. This is the final track, mate, of the 10.
Okay.
Time flies when you're having fun, my friend. So this is from one of our members, Xander Seddon.
Okay.
Really, really talented guy. So this is a remix, I think he's doing of something. So let's have a little listen to round things off here. Well, there it is. There's the final track of the first episode of Guy and Paul Get Nerdy. The first of many, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely. Count on me
unbelievable.
because I really enjoyed it. And
No,
I've
fantastic.
had a chance to listen to so many different kind of music, which is absolutely crazy for me. I mean, yeah, there's a good chance I've listened to several incredible producers, which I never heard about.
Mm,
Uh, good way to listen more music to, there's it's another perspective of finding new music to me, which is
mm,
absolutely excellent thing. I mean, sometimes you select people that you already know or an incredible producer, but uh, I feel several times that I'm missing a lot of great music around.
mm. Yeah, 'cause there's just
You know,
so
that's
much now, you know. That's the thing is,
yeah,
and the we all use, like you say, similar channels and like, similar places to look for things and whatever. And I actually, without getting into a whole debate about it, I actually don't think the promo system really helps a
yeah,
lot these days because like there's just so much stuff that, like you said, like sounds like it's like functionally and almost creatively like the same track being written over and over again, just in a slightly
exactly,
different way, you
exactly.
know?
Sometimes I get some promos from, Pool Proxy, probably that kind of this,
Hmm.
and sometimes I get some, some promos which are, was how did I miss this?
Yeah.
Or how could I miss this from people, unknown producers that sometimes they produce indie music or kind of melodic
Mm,
techno, whatever, or from organic, which doesn't sound so the normal organic or the normal progressive house, with different sounds, with different uh, textures in terms of mixing, which
mm,
is incredible. Really open-minded producers, which I never had a chance to listen to, and I found, and it's crazy. It's an amazing thing, really inspiring me.
no, 100%.
See, it always gives you the opportunity to find some new names, and some new way of making music.
Mm, no,
It's just
100%.
like bread to my soul, to my inspiration.
Mm,
Trust me, it's
yeah,
crazy.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, totally agree. Totally agree. And, Xander is someone who's done really, really well. Like, he has been on a bit of a roll in the last sort of year or so. Like, he's been a member for a good couple of years now, and we've really
Mm,
really guided him. And he's one who really gets quite impressive Spotify numbers actually. So he's like
really.
built himself quite an impressive audience on Spotify because of some of the labels that he's released on, like
Okay.
Storm, and they've been
Okay.
more sort of like Spotify based labels. But he's an amazing talent, and again he sits within that sort of um that sweet spot between something a bit more melodic, a bit more progressive, a bit more organic, a bit more deep house, that kind of thing. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
really
yeah.
really
I like
accessible
it.
across the board. Like his grooves are always on point. The bass
Yeah,
in this I absolutely loved.
and me too, me too. I absolutely love the piano. The piano chords are really good.
Mm.
Even though sometimes they are kind of repetitive, but it's a repetition which works really good.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like kind of early 90s vibes, which
Mm.
it's an era. I I totally grew up with that. I mean, I was still remember. I think I fell in love with dance music at the late 80s and early 90s. Again, with name, I'm not saying the same, but if you think about, Passion, from Get the Call,
Oh yeah.
really changed my point of view. I came from the academy and I studied piano,
Mm.
and when I listened to that track, I said, what can I do with the things that I learned? So it totally changed the way I perceive music.
Mm.
That is one of track together with some DJs just like Frank Knuckles or the pioneers DJs from late 80s. This track this piano track has some elements from that period, and I really love that period. So I really love this track.
Mm.
There's it's probably mixed it again, like you said, that the drums and the kick is on point, absolutely on point.
Mm.
I mean, it's better than my kicks, absolutely, and it's true. So yeah, it's an amazing track. Nothing to change, nothing to say. Well, what
Mm,
can I mean? It's it's well produced. So
yeah,
is
amazing.
that is already been released or
No, I
not?
think it's at mixdown phase now.
Okay,
Um, and that's something Xander's really been improving on over the last year is his mix downs as well.
okay,
So I think that this is looking for the final approval before he sends it off to be mastered.
okay.
So yeah, I totally agree with you on 99% of it. Of course, I always have to have a note. I always have to say something because I've always got something. I've always
Of
got
course.
something. So for me, it's one small thing, right? And it's when the acid comes in the
Yeah.
final third. I
A lack
found
of base, maybe there is a
yes,
too empty.
yeah, it
Agree
just
with you.
yeah, just felt like
Agree,
it was kind of floating on top of the track, and it was
agree with you.
lacking a little bit of low end and a little bit of low
Yeah,
mid. It's like
agree with you.
it's been rolled off on the low end a little bit too much, and it just needs that and a little bit of compression just to kind of glue it to the top of the track, and
Agree with
it'll
you.
really sit well. I think the other thing as well to think about is when, because I mean, I who doesn't love a good 303? Like, who doesn't love acid? Um,
Okay.
it there's also processing that you can add to it there, where it's like it's clean, but I think actually this is from a mix down perspective or just a general production perspective, it could be slightly dirtier, and it
Yeah,
would
agree.
actually like really enhance the track if it's got a bit more grit, a bit more dirt
Yeah.
to it. So you could add something like, say for example, like a little bit. I always love with 303s. I always really love adding like decapitator. Is
Yeah, of course.
like
It
at
works.
zero with the
Yeah.
punish button on and then just the dry
Yeah.
and wet. That can always work. And you've got to love a plugin with a punish button, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? Let's be honest. And the other thing you can do is add short delays. So like almost like slapback style delays with acid always works really well. Tape style delays. So
Yeah.
I go for I actually the only thing I use this plugin for now is delays. Is the Waves Kramer tape? You know
Yeah.
it's the emulation of the Eddie Kramer tape machine from
Yeah.
Electric
Yeah. I
Lady
use
in New
it. I
York.
use it too.
I use it as a delay because it's got
Yeah,
that
me too.
lovely tapey style, wobbly
It's
style delay
it's
with a little bit of
amazing.
pitch. The other, I'll be honest with you, my favorite delay plugin of all time, even though Waves are definitely not my favorite company, if I'm being honest with you, I don't, there's a lot not to like, is H delay.
Oh, I gotta say to you, I gotta agree with that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
no,
but H delay is for me the greatest delay plugin ever made. Like
yeah,
it's astonishing what you can get out of H delay.
I
And
use it. I use it a lot
yeah,
actually. Even though
yeah.
I use it a lot of replica. As I told you, I use a lot of
Mm,
filter delay as well.
yeah.
Fat filter delay is freaking crazy
Oh
delay.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
made a track only with that fab filter and
Mm,
two, three. I mean, with three different synths,
mm,
uh, three different delays, and
yeah.
track came after a few minutes. I don't
Yeah.
know what happened. You know,
Yeah.
it was
Amazing.
crazy. Yeah,
You were
agree.
in that Paul Wolford sort of erotic discourse sort of territory where basically Paul took his entire career to the next level off the back of a mistake because he left a delay routed into a kick drum and then just hit play and then that happened and it was like, oh, that's rather large. Let's just lean into that happy accident, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, stuff like those dirtier style delays, like, H delay and stuff like that,
yeah.
really enhance that. And I think you need it in a track like this because you've got the brightness and the real cut through and the shininess of the piano. And then you've got something really low end in the bass, which is
Mhm.
quite dirty and quite, modulated and quite filthy. You need something in the middle to bind that together. And the acid will really do that if you roll back some of the and bring some of the low end back in and then process it in the way that we're talking about. It's really going to enhance the entirety of the whole thing.
Yeah, agree. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Phenomenal.
I've seen that the track will be released on street recordings. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. Good old
Yeah,
Norman.
Yeah, exactly. Well, love such a lovely guy as well.
What
I'm
an
gonna
amazing.
release. Yeah,
Are you released on Strip this year, are you?
yeah. I'm gonna release a track. Actually, this is a remix for Aubrey Fry.
Ah,
Yeah,
good old Aubrey.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I made a remix for this summer. Actually, he hadn't
Yeah.
released it, yeah, and he asked me for a remix, and he said maybe with the remix it will be, a good pack anyway, because we are offering two tracks instead of one. And I say, wow, I love the track, and I remix it, and yeah, he sent it to Norman. Norman will be released, I think, in a couple of weeks, maybe less
Ah,
than one.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Totally
Yeah.
forgot about that remix actually because I made it probably around July.
Mhm.
And from July, or since July, probably I made, no joking, but around 15 remixes
Oh, you're
now. So
joking.
I
Wow.
totally forgot the remixes that I've done. Yeah, trust me. Yeah,
Wow.
crazy,
Wow.
crazy,
Craziness.
crazy time. Yeah.
Absolute
Anyway.
craziness. So yeah, I mean, I was actually talking to Norman the other day, and we were talking about potentially like me getting coming back to Stripped because the lovely thing about my relationship with Stripped is that Norman gave me my first ever release in 2010.
Really?
Yeah, my very first ever release. Yeah. So he really believed in me from minute one. So be nice to kind of like come home and like come full circle as things are getting really interesting for me this year as we were talking about before we went on the air. So yeah,
Such a lovely guy.
yeah, what a lovely guy.
Such a
I mean,
polite guy, such a sweetheart. So I know.
really is, really is. So yeah, so mission completed, my friend. Well done.
Oh, amazing. Can we do it again? Can we get
One
no,
hundred
no,
percent, dude. 100%. We'll get you
let's
back
do
later.
this.
We'll get you back
It's
later
kind
in the
of
year.
amazing because I really loved it. Really loved it. Thank you guys for being here and offering uh your music.
Yeah,
Amazing.
absolutely. And thanks for offering your time and your insight and your encouragement and support. Like it's been, obviously we met off the back of the whole like Patrice situation and we met briefly at ADE and we had some lovely conversations since. So I just honestly, like, every time me and you have interacted together, it's just been an absolute joy. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure getting
Absolutely.
to know you. It's been a pleasure like working with you on this. And yeah, dude, you're welcome back anytime. We'll get you back on a little bit later in the year if you want to do another one. And yeah, there's gonna be plenty of things for us to work on. So
Yeah, from my side, I gotta say that every single time that I have the opportunity to talk to Paul, it's always, you always have the impression that you know Paul since many years.
hmm
Uh, that's an incredible thing. I mean, I don't know if you're still connected in some way from music or whatever,
hmm
but really, really enjoy it.
no,
Really
absolutely, yeah.
enjoy being with Paul. It's an immense pleasure. It's an honor being here with you and together with the guys as well. But yeah, Paul is another thing, and it's something else.
Oh,
So
absolutely,
just
yeah.
need to
Thank
tell
you.
you, because I strongly believe it. So it's such an amazing pleasure to know it, and I'd love to listen Paul's stories, hows and hows and hows. So that's an
Yeah,
incredible
I mean,
source of inspiration. Wow, he is such an amazing storyteller. So,
well,
so
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Imagine me after a couple of beers. Like, it's even
yeah,
worse.
we gotta do this.
Oh, we're absolutely
Okay.
gonna do ADE this year. We're definitely doing it in a bit more detail, a bit
Unfortunately,
more
it was
time.
crazy,
Oh my God,
crazy.
like, yeah, that was yeah, yeah. I needed a week. I needed a week off back home in England to recover just from that. To be honest.
Me too.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
anyway,
exactly, exactly. So we've had some lovely final comments here. The Kick Doctor, which I still love that name, is phenomenal. Said I've joined a couple of different feedback sessions in the last few months. This is my first MYT. This has been the most useful and fun by a country mile. Thanks so much to Guy and Paul for the time and all the producers here too. It's
thank
been
you.
really amazing. I've learned more here today than in all of the online tutorials and feedback sessions I've done put together.
Appreciate it.
That's it. That's it. And we're here for you. Like on MYT, you're going to be doing these once a month. Again, like I just want to say thank you to our partners in this, Magnetic Magazine. Will, who is the editor in chief of Magnetic Magazine, is actually a former member of MYT. So it's a bit like it's a bit like Fight Club. Like we've got members everywhere, and it's like a little bit of like a, oh, you at an NYT away? Okay, yeah, one of those. And also to Steve and the team at ADSR for simulcasting this as well. Because I've worked with ADSR for a long time, doing the live streams. Obviously, Guy, you saw the one I did yesterday on Artoria Pigment 6. I'm going to be doing a lot more of
Yeah,
those in the
I've
future.
seen it.
It's a
Strongly recommend
combination.
it. Is really inspiring.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you, man. Thank you.
Yes, yeah,
It's a
that's all
combination
right.
of like, taking these amazing tools for a spin, showing all the new features because obviously people are interested in it, and also hopefully, doing something educational and inspirational at the same time. So the perfect partners, we've got an amazing, as I say, media partner in Magnetic Magazine. Steve and ADSR come in with, plug-in sales, sample packs, synth presets, that kind of thing, and then we come with the artist development. So actually, when you think about it, it's a perfect triangle between the three of us. It really, really is. So yeah, I want to say a massive thank you to that. And honestly, as Raphael said, hey, listen, we love you, Guy. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks very much. So yeah, we will be back next month. Keep it tuned on the social medias of ADSR, of Magnetic Magazine, MYT, my own Instagram, which is at Paul James Nolan, for announcements of who next month's guest is going to be. The way things are going, it might be Guy again.
I'll be there chatting and
Yeah,
see.
yeah,
For
exactly.
sure.
Guy will be
For
putting a track in for feedback next month.
sure. Expect it. Of course, I will be there. Consider it done, buddy.
Oh, amazing. Thank you very much. So that's going to do it. Final thing is that we're just on the back end on MYT on our January sale for memberships as well. So if you want more of this, we've got 20 plus courses on the platform, a really incredible Discord server full of people just like who are in the chat today. And we are half price until the 1st of February for when the first time ever in MYT history we're putting the price up. So that price that is quoted on the website, which is www.transition.studio. If you put a / on that and put January on, you'll get to our discount page for that. And again, it's going to be 50% off until the weekend. So for 6 and 12-month membership, so you can get internal feedback sessions just like this one, access to the ability to release on our record label, which is going from strength to strength, and a whole lot more. So if you want more of this, you know where to come, transition.studio. And yeah, we're here to help, and it's an absolute pleasure. So thank you very much, guys. We're going to call it there. Take it easy, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you.